Countries imposing travel bans on South Africa over the new Omicron variant are shooting the messenger. That's according to KwaZulu-Natal Research, Innovation and Sequencing Platforms Professor Tulio de Oliveira. The COVID-19 Omicron variant is under further discussion at the Science Forum South Africa. eNCA reporter Govan Whittles is there and is joining us now this hour. Good afternoon, Govan. What's the latest you can tell us? How is the meeting proceeding? We seem to have a problem with that connection with Govan Whittles. We'll try and get back to him a little bit later on. Now, the state capture hearing. Oh, let's bring you this story rather, not the state capture one. That's coming up a little bit later. The taxi industry says it supports mandatory COVID-19 vaccinations, but Santaco says there must be proper communication. Government has set up a task team to look into making jabs mandatory. This as new infections skyrocket and the recent discovery of the Omicron variant.
Well, we would say we support the pronouncement of the president. We won't oppose it because, as earlier on I said, the government is resourced, is well informed in terms of how to avoid more chaos in the country. So therefore we support that. But what is quite important, the team that the government has established, they need also to touch all the stakeholders so that we are on board as well. We understand how it works, how is it going to work, where is it going to be implemented, at what levels, at what times. So therefore, we are on the schedule of government so that we understand. Also, we want to be our commuters being saved from this pandemic.
Okay, now countries are imposing travel bans on South Africa over the new Omicron variant, are shooting the messenger. That's according to KwaZulu-Natal's Research, Innovation and Sequencing Platforms Professor Tulio de Oliveira. The variant is under further discussion today at the Science Forum South Africa. There for us this afternoon is Govan Whittles, and I'm sure now he'll be able to hear me. Govan, apologies about that connection a little bit earlier. What's the latest you can tell us? What's happening there at the forum?
Thank you, Braden. Yeah, the forum's first day and opening remarks as well as the panel discussion is wrapped up now. This is the only part of the Science Forum of South Africa that's in person. The rest of it will happen virtually. That, of course, because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the outbreak of the Omicron variant. And so far, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, we heard from some of the foremost scientists in South Africa and outside South Africa. Let's begin with Professor Tulio de Oliveira. He is from CRISP and is the person, CRISP was the institution that discovered the beta variant. It was talking about Omicron already being found in 20 countries and also looking at what the impact is of the travel bans or the reaction of other countries to South Africa's scientists being first in line and being able to detect the variant. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
We don't seem to have that bite this hour, Govan. Apologies for that. So you are saying that the rest of the forum's discussions are going to be held virtually. Is that going to be for the rest of the week?
Yeah, that'll happen over the next 2 days. And there was also some discussion among the panelists, all of them scientists who've either been working on the response to the COVID-19 pandemic or working on the sequencing, trying to identify some of those new variants. One of the panel members is Dr. Daniel NDIMA. He's the CEO of CAPEBIO. That's the company which, in collaboration with the CSIR, the Department of Science and Innovation, as well as some big investors, E Squared, were able to develop the rapid PCR test. Mr. Ndima joins me now. Dr. Ndima, so one of the points that you had made on the panel was that it would be better for scientists to be communicating information about the COVID-19 pandemic and its response instead of people trying to tailor a message that scientists give to them. What did you mean by that?
So I don't know if you remember in the beginning of the pandemic, right? There was denialism about the existence of the virus, not by scientists, but by prominent people in the society. And what that does is that it influences society to react based on that message. And what that does too is to undermine the efforts that are made by government. So what I mean is that even in the advent of this variant, we need scientists to communicate to everyone on the street to understand exactly what this means, because it has been said that there's no need for panic. And again, this variant exists in 20 countries. By the end of the week, it will be more than that. So if scientists are the ones that are actually communicating this to a layman and make sure that those prominent people in society that often have big voice and influence, they need to step out, allow scientists to be the ones that communicate so that we can all appreciate the interventions that are initiated by our governments.
We've seen South Africa's scientific community being distinguished and also becoming world-renowned now for its efforts, but at the same time we've also seen the government trying to improve its messaging around the COVID-19 pandemic. Compared to how it started, what do you think the communication is like now versus the actual science?
Actually, we're starting to see scientists coming up with evidence like Prof. Oliveira's group and many others. Science is all about facts and data. You can never speak about a scientific concept without having to showcase and actually backing that up by data. That has improved significantly, and the government is now able to influence quite a number of people now, even around vaccinations. We just need the right message so that people understand and appreciate what this means for them.
Thank you so much. That's Dr. Daniel NDIMA. He mentioned Professor Oliveira, and I do believe that some of those clips are now available. They're important because they give some insight into what the thinking is by some of the leading minds around how this virus is mutating, also around what is necessary now for South Africa to remain ahead of the curve when it comes to sequencing, but also how to properly respond to the virus mutating. Let's have a look at what Professor Oliveira had to say now.
So the news of the week is this variant, which rapidly became a variant of concern, the Omicron, that was detected in South Africa. As I mentioned many times, it doesn't mean that originated in South Africa, especially where first detected is Johannesburg. This is our biggest airport in the continent. It could have come from everywhere. And today there was info of samples that come from the Netherlands before. Here, I'm also not saying that's from Netherlands. What I'm saying is that do not blame on South Africa this variant. What we should do is highlight that we were the ones to identify. So just to ground you in this graphic, and I am almost finished. It is here, the dates. We start doing genomic surveillance very early because great support of the Department of Science and Innovation. And here our first wave was dominated by different lineages, which then it came the beta variant, which dominated all our second terrible wave last year. We got introduction of the alpha. To be honest, we helped the UK to identify the alpha, and this is well recorded in the international media. And then this other awful variant came, the delta, that caused this massive third wave, especially in Gauteng. We have been following another one, the C12, until last week, what we see is a new variant completely taking over, what's called the Omicron, And this fast identification from the science in South Africa, instead of we get recognition and support, we got punished by the international world. And that's something that myself, our ministers, our president, and many of the world leaders are really vocal, that you should not punish good science. You should really encourage transparency and science in the world.